If someone had said to me 20 years ago when I was 14 and a half that I would score ones and twos in my standard grades, score A's and B's in all my hires, and go to university and earn a 2-1 BSc, a first-class postgraduate qualification, and even study up to and earn a PhD in science, and after all that, my job prospects would end up being even worse than they were when I left school. And if someone had told me 20 years ago that 20 years hence I would still be living with my parents, and I would still be a virgin, and I will be unemployed, having never secured a steady career anywhere, I would have been absolutely flabbergasted. 20 years ago, I was a fairly mediocre to average school pupil attending my high school. There were people in my classes who were more popular than me. There were people in my classes who were certainly more intelligent than me. I had not many friends, but some friends. And we were all being brought up in a rural, obscure part of Britain. And the grown-ups around me, most of them, they held jobs. They held fairly common, ordinary jobs. They worked as tradesmen, they worked as teachers, they worked as medics, they worked in shops, they worked on the roads. Some of them worked on the farms. Most people around me, most of the adults whom I encountered when I was back at school, were fairly ordinary people. There was nothing particularly distinguished or extraordinary about them. Today's knowledge economy demands that every applicant, whether someone's applying to become a janitor or applying to become a CEO, must be a person of superlative achievements and abilities. It's almost become a eugenic system we have now, because a century ago, the Edwardians, no, actually they were the Georgians by then. People a century ago were seriously talking about mass experimentation upon the human population by sterilising and thereby eliminating people who were considered to be imbeciles, eliminating them from the mainstream of society and from the economy. I'm not making this up. Read it up. Pick up a history book. You'll find this. Eugenics. It's where Nazism came from. And I find that today's economy is eugenic. And when I left school, I could easily pick up a job working as a catering assistant, working as a caretaker, working in a shop. It was easy. My friends and I, we were not extraordinary, famous, brilliant individuals. We were not destined for great things, and yet, when we left school, we picked up jobs. Back 20 years ago, back when I was struggling in some of my class subjects, and some of my classmates were taking the mickey out of me as a result, my friends around me said, "Malcolm, you're not that bright, so just study and do the best you possibly can, pass your standard grades and leave school and just get a job working in a supermarket." 20 years on, I can't even dream of picking up a job in a supermarket. I recently applied for an assistant position at Aldi's, and I had to sit this online situational judgment test, and I failed because they asked these really complex psychological questions. Again, you're not allowed to be ordinary. Neil Kinnock warned the British populace in 1983 not to be ordinary if Thatcher got her way. Well, his prophecy has certainly been fulfilled now. I look back on the last 20 years and how else can I put it? What the hell have I done with my life? What have I done? Where did it all go? Where did all my friends go? Where did it all go? Where did my sense of wonder, my naive trust in the future, what happened to it? What happened to my youth? Where did it all go? The answer is, I didn't waste it getting drunk, partying too hard, trying to pander to the chicks. I didn't waste it by living a delinquent lifestyle, by by hanging around with gangs, by committing by committing a spree of petty crimes. I didn't waste my life straying from the beaten track. I spent the last 20 years trying my damnedest to keep to the straight and narrow. Not least because back at school, the most important things they teach you back at school are conformity, don't question authority, obedience, and that if you work hard and keep your head down and your mouth shut, and if you pass tests, you'll go somewhere, you'll go places. As the teachers used to say, you'll come to nothing, son, if you don't behave yourself, if you don't start working. That's what they used to say. They lied. The teachers, they lied to me. The liars. Because that's exactly what I did for the last 20 years. I wasted the last 20 years trying and trying and trying to secure a career, to get my foot in the door. But the best I ever secured were a series of infrequent, temporary jobs, nearly all of them on the minimum wage. That was my reward for all my graft, for all my study. That was my reward, and the rewards, especially over the last 8 years, have just diminished. Year after year, financial year after financial year. Until last year, after having clung on to a seasonal job for 4.5 years, I was being paid so little money that I was spending more than I was earning, and I had to leave. But you know, what really depresses me more than anything else is that I just never got my life started. I spent all these years working for nothing, striving for nothing, studying for nothing. As the Irish used to say, if that's where you want to go, I wouldn't start from where you are now. And that's how it feels. Looking back in the last 20 years, my good behaviour, my good conduct, my careful attempts to write exquisite covering letters and fill out job application forms properly, and trying to pursue a career, an objective, all for nothing. All I ever wanted, back when I was at school, 20 years ago, all I wanted was to belong. All I wanted was a fairly ordinary job, working Monday to Friday, which would have afforded me the chance to meet friends and go places at the weekends. I just wanted to have what a lot of the grown-ups around me had. Just a job. A role, a purpose. I wanted to move into my own place. Back when I was in my early 20s, all I wanted was what other people around me were securing. I just wanted to move into my own place. I wanted a steady career. Enough so I could move out of my parents' house. Enough so I could finally become an eligible bachelor and finally get a girlfriend. I don't consider these things to be extravagant luxuries. Maybe you do, but I don't. And I must admit, when I visit my siblings and their significant others and their families, my nieces and nephews, it makes me feel depressed. Because it's too late for me now. I spent years and years and years trying, studying for this, trying to secure jobs here and there, trying to make a living, trying to build a career. Failed. Just nothing worked. And now I'm trapped here. I've been living in this building now for over 7 years. And I'm worse off than I was when I was 16 when I secured my first job. I earn less money now. I earned less money last year than I did when I was 17. And, as the Americans say, no money, no honey. A man who doesn't have a job, who hasn't got a good income, who doesn't live in his own place, who hasn't got it all made, he ain't gonna have a girlfriend. He's scum. He's ineligible as 99% of human beings applying for jobs these days, whether it's for a janitorial post or a CEO position. If you're lacking in just one tiny thing, you don't exist. I get really depressed now. The best years of my life were wasted in filling out job application forms, wasted in trying to build a career in what turned out to be dead end in temporary jobs which came to an end, wasted in years of college and university, totally wasted. I could never have imagined 20 years ago that I would have gone to university, because back when I was 14, a lot of people around me insulted me, slagged me off, called me thicko, because my verbal communication has never been above par. And people teased me for it. All I expected when I was at school was that when I left school I would pick up a job, and I could hold down a steady job and eventually meet someone and move on to the next stage in life. And that has been denied to me ever since. And the best years of my life have just gone down the drain. And I know I am certainly not the only one.